Hello lecturer and viewers. We are from group Ibe Ab2. My name is Lyheang.
And my name is Chhivhun.
My name is Sounratanak.
My name is Boren.
And today our group is going to answer the critical thinking and discussion question from the International Business Textbook, second edition. It covers the chapter 2, which is National Differences in Political Economy. Here are our contents. We are going to answer 4 questions listed as question number 1, number 3, number 4, and question number 5. Question number 1 will be presented by Chhivhun. Question number 3 will be presented by Lyheang. Question number 4 will be presented by me. Last but not least, question number 5 will be presented by Boren.
Okay, now let's discuss question number 1. Free market economy stimulates greater economic growth, whereas state-directed economy stifles growth. What is free market economies? According to Investopedia Academy, free market economy means an economy where the government no control and no regulation on buyer and seller. In a free market, participants determine what products are produced, how, when, and where they are made, to whom they are offered, and at what price. It is based on supply and demand. The government supports free and fair competition between private producers. Private ownership certifies that entrepreneurs have a right to the profit made by their own effort and can lead more individuals to innovate, have freedom of create new ideas and new products for consumer. For example, for the cell phone, new models come out every year, such as iPhone and Samsung, create new filter and new idea for their customer need. And the company always owned by individual or private companies. In addition, the endless improvement in result from an incentive. It has a main position effect on economic growth and development. And let's talk about state-directed economies. According to International Business Textbook, the state-directed economy, which means command economy that government plan for good or service that a country produce and the quantity in which they are produced and price at which they are sold. The objective state-directed economy is for government allocate resources for the good of society. On the other hand, the measures state-directed economy stifle growth are not always aware of consumer fabric need and want, and normally they could not manage production appropriately. The main disadvantage is economy need plenty of planner and organization to make system work. This reduce a slow decision making, fraud, and less progressing. Furthermore, a system allows very little freedom. There are absence from technology and innovation. As a result, instead of growing and becoming more successful, such economies tend to stifle. And in conclusion, I totally agree with this statement said free market economies stimulate greater economic growth, whereas state-directed economies stifle growth. That's all from my presentation.
Okay, now let me talk about question number 3. Then, what is the relationship between corruption in a country and the economic growth? Now let's talk about the definition of corruption. Corruption is usually defined as the abuse of public office for the purpose of personal gain. Corruption is commonly traced back as an economic crime. The most important practice of corruption are perceived in economies with low level of growth, in that low wages, low purchasing power of officials, limited labor resources are the basis of corrupt practice. Corruption helps destroy the growth as it reduces the incentive for domestic and especially foreign investment. Okay, and now let's talk about the effects. Poor economic and political management and weak government control would enhance the opportunity for the use of ransom-king and subsequently increase the corruption that acts negatively on economic growth in developing countries. Corruption continues to be pursued over time to find an appropriate definitions that can accurately trace the phenomenon. Thus, corruption occurs when the bribe secretly provide a service for bribing or to an authorized candidate to influence the action that enjoy the briber or the nominee and for which the authority is corrupting. Okay, now let's talk about the relationship between economic growth and corruption. Economic evidence says that high levels of corruption might slightly reduce the economic growth rate in a country. Corrupt politicians might reduce the return to investment and reduce the incentive that both domestic and foreign businesses have to invest in the country. The lower level of investments that result has negative impact in economic growth. If corruption is bad, yes, that corruption is bad, but it also good at some point too. Example, it's not affect economic growth when you just pay people money to done the work faster for us, but it may affect economic growth in the country when they don't pay tax or when the tax went to governor pocket. So we can say that corruption is bad and might affect economic growth in the country, but sometimes corruption is okay and it doesn't affect economic growth at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Lyheang, for providing such a wonderful answer. Now it is my turn to answer question number 4. The statement says the Nobel Prize winning economist Amartya Sen argues that the concept of development should be broadened to include more than just economic development. What are the factors that Sen thinks should be included in and to assessment of development? How might adoption of Sen's view influence government policy? Do you think Sen is correct that development is about more than just economic development? Explain. Before I answer these questions, I would like to explain about the differences in economic development. In fact, the different countries have drastically different levels of economic development. So in order to measure its progress, gross national income per capita has been used. However, using this measurement can be misleading and insufficient to describe economic development. Thus, Amartya Sen exposed his concept by introducing the removal of major impediments to freedom. According to his thesis in international business textbook, development must be considered further by the enjoyment of people through abilities and occasions. Those include the basic health care, which mainly refers to children, and education mainly refers to women. Since the fact that every day on average 25,000 children under the age of 5 die, most of them from diseases that could have been prevented with basic health care. Moreover, according to the World Bank, 130 million girls between the age of 6 and 17 are out of school. Another ultimate point is that he had mentioned is freedom. This gives citizens a voice in making the important decision for the future of their country in their own rights. These three factors can fulfill the incompletion and restore the seeking development. Next, the government that has been influenced by Sen's views can stress the three important policies. The first is to ensure education programs are handy, providing conditioned cash transfers, stipends, or scholarship for unaffordable family, building safe and inclusive learning environment for girls and young women, and addressing violence against girls and women. The second point is that to ensure most basic healthcare are accessible. The first is supplements and nutrition, and followed by the safe drinking water and basic sanitation facilities to help children avoid diarrhea. The third point is affordable vaccinations, immunizations, and antibiotics to prevent or treat childhood diseases. The last point is that they can value greater freedom for their citizens. This means they can open to democratizations for the benefits of their country. It goes without saying that sense view is a great approach to reach a high level of development. A material output measurement such as GNI alone does not represent the full concept of development. This means that a country where has high number in GNI but its people have low education, low health treatment, and low voices will be still categorized in an underdeveloped. Developers should always be aware of capabilities and opportunities that people enjoy for the best achievement. This is the end of my part. I would like to give the floor to Boren.
Question number 5. You are the CEO of a company that has to choose between making $100 million investment in South Korea or China. Both investments promise the same long-run return, so your choice is driven by risk considerations. Accept the various risks of doing business in each of these nations. Which investment would you favor and why? Before I decide which country I should choose to invest, I would like to assess some of risks in this country based on my research. First, political risk. In South Korea, there is uncertainty harmful by North Korea producing modern weaponry, and South Korea still has political conflict with North Korea that could lead to Korean War. Currently, there are protests by Korean citizens on THAAD project with USA. In other hand, for China is a communism country, and nowadays there is a constant battle between central government with local government. Because of China is a communism country, they have power to take over the business for any breaking rule by confiscation. Secondly, economic risk. In South Korea, after election, South Korea economy still recovering slowly and pressure on currency. Also, unofficial economic approval from Beijing, such as the boycott of Korean cosmetics or TV shows. For China, there is decline in GDP growth rate in China to 6.9%. Moreover, their fixed asset investment is rapidly declining too. The unemployment rate is still remain, and it reflects some of negative trend, starting with long-term weakness in productivity growth. Last but not least, there are legal risks. Nowadays, only 11% on trade union in South Korea and high level of respect for human rights, and their salary rate are too high. In China, the legal system in China for all private business can have ownership control, and it must be part of government entity, and government are more protecting on domestic company. To conclude the point of view as the CEO of the company, I will invest in China. And why? Because even China is a communism country, but it's open in economy, and China has a huge market than South Korea, and I will not invest in a country that not clearly safe. For economic risk, China GDP has been declined, but it still grow and more than South Korea. And China will have the largest economy in the future. For all business has to be part of government entity, but we can invest in local company as a corporate business. Thank you.
Thank you, Boren. Here are some references that have been retrieved for this presentation and explanation. If you have any doubts, feel free to check out more through these websites. We would like to say thank you for sacrificing your valuable time listening our presentation.